Again, it's very similar to the title of Brad's book, really. It's working on that same paradox. But as a non-theistic person, as someone for whom God, even Eckhart's God, doesn't really mean much to me, I find it intriguing, but it kind of leaves me cold, to be quite honest. Um, uh, so I don't really have a lot to say about it. What about Brad? You're more the God man.
I pray to God to free me of God. Yeah, it is very much like there is no God and He is always with you. That same quotation. Um, I would take it to mean free me of any concept of God. I mean that's sort of when Zen people put paradoxical questions like that. Often the intent is to say, get rid of your ideas about this thing and try to approach the question in this kind of open way, this very raw way in which you don't have any concept of what the answer is, and you may not even care about giving an answer at all. You're just more interested in the question. So that's what I would take it. So yeah, I pray. Yeah, I don't really pray to God. Maybe I should. Maybe it would help.
Yeah, I think the Zen tradition has two different sources. One is the Prajnaparamita, the perfection of wisdom, which is the philosophy of emptiness. The other is the Lankavatara Sutra, both of which Bodhidharma apparently brought to China. And the Lankavatara talks about the nature of the universe is mind and so forth and so on. Which we find in India too. We find it in some of the Tibetan schools. And to me, the notions like one mind are basically a stepping stone to the notion of God. They're sort of they're impersonal, but nonetheless, you are again taking a human experience, having a mind. This is all we really know about mind, is that there's something in me that I call mind, and then projecting that onto, giving it kind of a cosmological, ontological reality that is equivalent to, God or whatever. And I think that often is, it's a slippery slope to theism. I would argue. So my own relationship with Zen, I don't find those particular kind of teachings terribly useful, and I tend to prefer the more the teachings that are really about leaving you suspended in a state of questioning and doubt. And if you're going to use any word, a word like emptiness, the absence of anything to hold on to, the absence of any fixed idea, and just a pure encounter and engagement with the mystery of life itself, without assuming that it is the nature of mind or whatever. That to me is a metaphysical step too far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love the, I don't want to contradict Stephen, but I love those questions. I really find that whole area of inquiry fascinating, and it may be a slippery slope, a stepping stone to theism, and I can understand why he says that. And I find it that whole idea of the one mind. I've been really trying to get into Huang Po recently. It's been a thing for me. I just got hold of several different translations, some of which put the English and the Chinese side by side, and I can read enough Chinese to kind of follow along a bit, because Chinese and Japanese are both written in Chinese characters, so I know some of the meanings. And that whole idea is interesting, because you're also there's the Yogacara school, which is Vijnanavada, consciousness only. And then one of the reasons I was attracted to looking at Advaita Vedanta is because they also have a philosophy of everything is consciousness. I think there's not a nice one-to-one matchup, but I think it's fair to say that in a lot of ways the Mahayana Buddhism uses the word mind, where the Advaita Vedanta people would use the word consciousness, and vice versa. So they'll say the Advaita Vedanta people will say mind is is not important, but everything is consciousness. And then the Mahayanas will say that consciousness is not important, everything is mind, but they're kind of saying the same thing with different words. But this idea of like, what is the basis of this universe? And maybe this is one of these questions that is unanswerable, fundamentally unanswerable. Dogen puts it in such a funny way, because he comes out of the Zen tradition, which does have this tradition of everything is the one mind. And Dogen is a strong admirer of Huang Po. I just came across a passage in Dogen's writings where he just praises Huang Po to the sky as being the greatest thing ever. So he was really into that idea of one mind, but he has this Sangai Yuishin. Oh God, I'm trying to impress you by knowing the Japanese title, but the triple world is mind alone. Sangai Yuishin is one of his chapters, which is a standard Buddhist form. The triple world means everything in the universe. Everything is mind alone. And in that essay, he kind of turns that on his head, and he says, yeah, everything is mind alone, but it doesn't mean that it's mind as separate from matter. There's we tend to make that big separation, say there's mind over here and matter over there, and mind is real but matter isn't. That would be idealism, if I'm using the philosophical terms correctly. But Dogen doesn't agree with that. He says that mind is fences, walls, tiles, and pebbles. This is one of his set phrases that he uses all the time. So when he says the one mind, he also means the things we encounter that we don't think of as being an example of mind at all, like the physical material universe. And it's one of these questions, maybe this is my koan, there's a famous koan where, and it's my favorite one because I don't quite get it, and I write about it and speak about it all the time, where the guy is it's written in it's in One Bright Pearl is usually the title of the essay by Dogen in which this one occurs. And it's a guy who is cut to the chase. He's been a Zen practitioner for a long time, but at some point he's just decided, screw this, I'm leaving. I'm not getting anywhere with this practice. And as he's leaving the temple in the middle of the night to kind of run away, he stubs his toe on a rock. And he says to himself, I've been told that everything is just the one mind. Where does this pain come from? And that's his awakening moment. And he comes back to the temple and he decides to continue his practice, and he becomes this great Zen master with this question of if everything is the one mind, then how come my toe hurts so bad? I'm not sure what the answer to that one is, but maybe one day I'll figure it out and let you know. Insha, yeah, somebody said.
Just to finish, because I think we're running out of time, it reminds me of Dr. Johnson, Samuel Johnson, who was told about the philosophy of idealism of Bishop Berkeley and so on, where everything is just mind. And he says, I can refute that. And he kicks a rock and he said, it is refuted.